I have been struggling with something for a while.
You came.
You knew I would. I hoped you would. I love you. Do you ever think about what might have been if we hadn't waited so long?
I think about it all the time. I wonder how many nights I wasted staring at the ceiling.
Sorry.
I wonder how different life would look if we hadn't been so afraid. I was terrified. Not of you, never of you, Sune, but of what I felt. It was so strong, so consuming, I thought it would break me. And I thought if I told you, if I reached for you, I'd ruin everything. That I'd lose you forever.
You didn't lose me. Even when you thought you had, I was still yours. I think I was always yours. This has been yours from the start. Every beat, every breath. I love you more than words can say.
You just said it now.
They stopped at a small clearing by the lake, where the grass bent gently with the wind and the moon's reflection shimmered like liquid silver on the water's surface. The world felt quiet here, as if nature itself had chosen to hold its breath, watching two souls step closer to a truth they had both longed for. She turned toward him, her eyes shining, but there was a hesitation in her expression, as if she were balancing on the edge of fear and desire. He noticed it instantly, the way her lips parted slightly as though words wanted to escape but never found the courage. Gently, he reached up, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, letting his fingers linger against her cheek. The warmth of his touch made her eyes flutter closed for a heartbeat, and when they opened again, he saw the truth reflected in them. She wanted this just as much as he did. "You're trembling," he whispered softly, his thumb caressing her skin as though she were something fragile. a treasure he had only dreamed of holding. She gave a small, nervous laugh, her voice unsteady. "Because I'm afraid this isn't real," she confessed. "I'm afraid I'll wake up and find it's just another dream." He leaned closer, his forehead brushing gently against hers, and murmured, "Then let me prove it's real." His words hung between them like a vow, and before she could respond, he closed the last of the distance. Their lips met in the softest, most hesitant of kisses, not rushed, not desperate, but tender, like two hearts finally touching after years of waiting. The kiss deepened slowly, a quiet fire growing between them. Her hands rose almost instinctively, resting against his chest as if to hold on to the moment, while his arm slid around her waist, pulling her closer, anchoring her to him. The world melted away, the night sky becoming their witness, the gentle lapping of water against the shore a rhythm that matched the beating of their hearts. For the first time, there was no fear, no doubt, only the certainty that they were exactly where they were meant to be. When they finally pulled away, their breaths mingling in the cool air, they didn't speak immediately. They simply looked at each other, their eyes saying more than words ever could. "I've waited so long for that," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. He smiled, his hand still cradling her face as he replied, "So have I. Every night, I thought of this. Every single night." She pressed her forehead against his, her eyes closing again as tears slipped silently down her cheeks. He kissed them away gently, one by one, whispering, "No more waiting. We're here now. This is ours." She let out a shaky breath, her arms wrapping fully around him, clinging to him as though she never wanted to let go. And he held her just as tightly, his heart swelling with a love that had been silent for too long. The night wrapped around them like a cocoon, and for the first time, midnight didn't feel like the end of something but the beginning of everything. Their kiss had sealed it, their embrace had promised it, and now, every beat of their hearts declared it. They belonged to one another, not just in this moment, but in every moment that would follow. They stayed there by the lake, their arms still around each other, as though separating would mean breaking the fragile spell the night had cast. The cool wind danced gently across the water, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and pine, and for once neither of them felt the chill. The warmth between them was enough, a fire that had been waiting years to ignite. After a long silence, she tilted her head back just slightly, her eyes searching his face in the silver light. "What happens now?" she whispered, the question so delicate it almost blended into the night itself. He smiled faintly, brushing his thumb along her jawline as though memorizing her. "Now," he said softly, "we stop imagining what could be, and we start living what is." She exhaled a shaky laugh, both nervous and hopeful. "And what is this, exactly?" she asked, her voice betraying the vulnerability of someone who still couldn't quite believe she was allowed to have this happiness. He leaned closer, his lips hovering just above hers, his words a breath against her skin. "This," he whispered, "is love. It's us. It's everything I never thought I'd be brave enough to ask for." Her heart fluttered in her chest, and she rested her forehead against his once more, letting the truth of his words wash over her. "Then promise me," she said, her voice trembling, "that this isn't just a midnight dream. Promise me it will last when the sun rises." His arms tightened around her, holding her as though the very idea of letting go was unthinkable. "I promise," he murmured. "I promise with every part of me. When the sun rises, when the days get hard, when the world tries to pull us apart, I'll still be here. I'll still choose you." The conviction in his voice brought tears to her eyes, and she nodded against him, her fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt as though anchoring herself in his vow. For a moment, silence enveloped them again, but this time it wasn't empty. It was filled with the echo of promises, with the heartbeat of forever. They sat down on the grass together, the cool blades brushing against their skin as they leaned side by side, looking out at the water. She rested her head against his shoulder, his arm draped protectively around her. The stars stretched endlessly above them, and she found herself whispering dreams she had never dared to speak aloud. "I imagine us traveling someday," she said softly. "Waking up in little towns we've never seen before, finding pieces of ourselves in new places. I imagine us building a home together, not just a house, but a place that feels safe, where every wall has laughter in it, where love lingers even in the silence." Her voice grew quieter. "And I imagine us still here, years from now, sitting by this same lake, older but still holding hands, still in love. His chest ached with the tenderness of her words, and he kissed the top of her head gently before replying. I imagine all of that too. But more than anything, I imagine waking up every morning and knowing you're there. That no matter what the world throws at me, I'll come home to you. That your smile will be the first thing I see when the day begins, and your voice will be the last thing I hear before I sleep. He paused, his throat tight with emotion, before adding, and I imagine loving you every day, in every way, until my very last breath. She lifted her head then, her eyes shimmering with tears, but her smile was radiant, glowing even brighter than the moonlight. She cupped his face in her hands, whispering, then we'll make it real. All of it. We'll make it ours. And with that, she kissed him again, slow and sure, a seal on the future they had just dreamed together. The night seemed to lean in closer, as if eager to witness two souls weaving forever out of words, promises, and love. The hours slipped by as though time itself had chosen to linger, unwilling to disturb the sacred peace between them. The moon began its slow descent, and the stars softened against the dark sky, hinting at the promise of dawn just beyond the horizon. They remained together by the lakeside, wrapped in the warmth of each other's presence, their words coming in whispers, their laughter gentle but full of life. Every moment felt suspended, fragile and eternal, as though the night had carved out a world just for them, a world where love finally had no boundaries. She leaned closer against him, her fingers entwined with his as she murmured, I don't want this night to end. Her voice was barely more than a sigh, yet it carried the weight of her heart. He turned his head, brushing his lips softly against her hair. Then it won't, he whispered. Because this isn't just a night. This is forever beginning. She smiled at his words, though her eyes glistened with tears she didn't try to hide. I used to think love was fragile, she confessed quietly. That it could break if you held it too tightly or disappear if you weren't careful enough. But right now, with you, it feels unshakable, like it's part of who we are. He pulled back just enough to meet her gaze, his expression steady and full of devotion. That's because it is, he said firmly. This isn't something we stumbled into. It's who we've always been. You and me, we've been carrying this love inside us, waiting for the night we'd finally let it out. And now that it's here, nothing can take it away. His words settled in her like a vow, calming the last flicker of doubt within her. She pressed her hand to his cheek, her thumb tracing the line of his jaw as if committing it to memory, and whispered, then promise me again, not just for tonight, but for every night, for every dawn after this. He covered her hand with his own, his eyes unwavering as he replied, I promise. For every night, every dawn, every tomorrow. Even when we're old and grey, even when the world changes around us, my love won't. His voice faltered slightly, thick with emotion, before he added, you're my forever. The words were simple, but they wrapped around her like a blanket, steadying and endless. She felt her heart swell, overflowing with a joy she had never dared to dream possible, and she leaned in to kiss him again, slow, deep, filled with every emotion she couldn't put into words. The kiss tasted of love and tears, of hope and healing, of a bond that no force could sever. When they finally pulled apart, the horizon had begun to glow with the first strokes of dawn, painting the sky in shades of soft gold and pale rose. She watched the light emerge, then turned back to him with a playful smile. Looks like the world wants us back, she said softly. He shook his head, tugging her closer, his arm firm around her waist. Let the world wait, he replied, kissing her forehead. We've already found what matters. Together, they stood as the sun rose, the night giving way to day, yet the magic of midnight still alive within their hearts. Hand in hand, they walked away from the lakeside, each step carrying them into a future they had once only dreamed of. The silence between them no longer held secrets but promises. And as the light of morning spread across the earth, one truth remained unshakable: midnight had not been the end of a day, but the beginning of forever.